Howdy Earthlings, Toons Universe comes out this Friday, and I got to play a lot of the early access, so I'm here with some tips on what you should know before the game's release. If you didn't know yet, Toons Universe is an upcoming game that's part of the dandy-like genre. You fix machines, run from monsters, and the elevator goes up or down. I don't know which, but it goes in one of those directions. This one has a lot that's different with it though, so that's why I have 10 important tips, but these are absolutely packed. These could have been 20 separate tips. No need to thank me, I'm so generous, just want you to know that. Before we start though, please keep in mind the game closed early access around a few weeks ago, and changes could have been made since then that I don't know about yet. The gameplay in the background will equally be out of date. 1. How Sanity works. I've talked to the devs a lot about this one. Some of the staff are big fans of distracting, but also know that it's probably one of the worst parts of Dandy's world. That's mostly due to distracting not being planned for. It wasn't a planned mechanic. It's kind of something that rose out of the community discovering it. While it has been acknowledged as of recently as a strat, it hasn't really been accepted as a mechanic quite yet in DW. What TU is doing differently is that distracting is something that they're designing very intentionally. It's not impossible to do, yet it's not quite possible to do with every agent. There are also a couple of characters that staff considers to be distractors or distractor adjacent, and those are the ones that you should probably play with if you plan to do this, and those are Fantasia and Fizzle. The biggest influence over distracting though is Sanity. It's what keeps non-distractors from distracting, until one of us breaks the game, that is. When you get chased by an infected, you have a sanity meter that goes down over time. Once it hits 0, your stamina will drain and it won't start to regenerate until after the chase has been done and you've got all your sanity back. The infected also prefer players with more sanity, meaning that if anyone gets too close to the distractor, they will stop chasing the distractor because your sanity is your stealth. The less sanity in your bar, the less appealing you are to the infected. This means that a distractor needs to be left alone while looping infected somewhere out of the way. But not everyone has the speed to be a distractor, as infected like Tipo and Copper are both faster than even the fastest agents like Fantasia and Fizzle. For the majority of agents, you'll only be able to distract for a short amount of time before you have to give up and get your stamina back or risk a hit. It is possible to buff speed and stamina of agents, but the dev team has said that they're paying very close attention to these buffs and ensuring it's not possible to get above a certain amount. They want distractors to be distractors and regular agents to stay regular. If you decide you don't want to be a distractor, good news, great news even, it's entirely optional. I reached floors over 30 without having a distractor. So yes, distracting exists, but in a way that it exists for those who want to do so intentionally. For those who don't want to distract, just don't do it. The devs are trying to make sure it doesn't become meta to have one on the team. And even as a distractor, you will find that there are some infected that you can't always run from. 2. There are no mains. Dandy's world has a massive problem, and it's mostly due to its character hierarchy system. The mains have been available from very early on, they won't add any more, and because of that, all non-mains have to be worse than the mains. So this makes it difficult for new characters to get made. They have to be worse than the mains, but better than the starters, and this has resulted in a lot of non-mains being basically diet soda versions of the mains, or just so niche that they're not practical to play, like Scraps or Brusha. Many exist only as stepping stones to unlock the mains, or better characters, and some only exist to unlock worse characters like Blot or Astra. People who like these characters don't like them because they're good or useful. Everyone knows stamina is a useless stat as long as you have at least 100. People like the characters based on aesthetics and interactions, then justify their preference by saying that the characters are good actually if you play them long enough, just trust me bro. Meanwhile, they spend all day on the roleplay server never playing the actual game because they can't get past 5 without the rock dog. Sorry, that was a rant and a half. Anyway, even Dolly's Factory has a bit of a character hierarchy problem. There are higher rarity plushies that are better than the rest, but you can still play any character and it won't negatively impact your performance. Cinnabon is the worst, but she's still very viable. She is, however, overdue for a buff, but that's something best saved for a guide on her. Anyway, Toons Universe doesn't have this problem. There is no hierarchy, there are no mains. All characters are still unlocked through challenges and all of them have ability and different stats, but there isn't a character hierarchy. You can play any character and do well as long as you choose one that makes sense for your group. Every character has a good and compelling reason to play them, and they all have drawbacks and positives. Some starting characters are very good even after unlocking a lot of supposedly better characters. Even after getting half of the characters, I still went back to playing Nimbus a lot because stamina actually really matters in this game due to the sanity system. 3. Don't babysit people on machines. I've explained the sanity system already, but this system comes with a big flaw. Since there isn't a dedicated stealth stat, our sanity is our stealth. The more sanity we have, the less stealth we have. So say 2 characters are about to be spotted by the same infected. The infected will chase the closest one. If the other player hasn't gotten far enough away yet, the infected will, after a moment, switch to the second Nimbus because that Nimbus has more sanity. Now please use what I'm about to tell you responsibly because I'm telling you how to grief grief people. Hopefully since the devs watch my videos, they'll see this and work towards a solution. If you get spotted by an infected and you run past someone on a machine, the infected will stop chasing you and will go for the player on the machine as soon as they're visible. This is because this player has higher sanity because they've been out of chases for a while now. If you're being chased, don't run past players on machines. Don't go anywhere near them. But more importantly, if someone is on a machine, don't stand next to them. Go away and let them do the machine in peace. You're just attracting infected who will ignore you and chase the player on the machine. By standing next to players doing machines, you're just griefing. 4. You start with both starters. In these sorts of dandy likes, you typically have a choice of a character A or B, the boy character or the girl character. No non-binary option yet. And deity, it's Boxton or Poppy, and for Dolly, it's Buddy or Cinnabon. You still have boy and girl option. You have Nimbus or Weffel, but you start with both unlocked from the beginning. I think every game should do this because the cost to unlock the starter you didn't pick is almost always just pennies. It's pointless to lock off the one you didn't choose because it costs so little. If you do want to pick one over the other, I recommend picking Nimbus. While both are very cute in their own ways, we have Sleepy Baby Man Nimbus and Chunky Chef Weffels, there are gameplay reasons why you might want to play one over the other. Nimbus is able to use an ability to restore his stamina to full on the spot, but is left vulnerable for a short time. This is incredibly useful in solo scenarios, and due to the Sanity mechanic, stamina is actually a very important resource in Toons universe. Weffel, on the other hand, is, as of early access, only useful in a co-op scenario. She has a passive where she gets a speed boost when picking up an item, which isn't very practical. People have given me crap for saying this before, but an ability that you can't control the activation of isn't a reliable or practical ability. This is just pure flavor, and if that's what you're going for, that's fine. But her main ability is throwing waffles to teammates. She forces them into the inventory of other players, and it's an awesome ability just because the player doesn't have to grab them like Coco's bonbons in DW. The waffles also give a speed boost, which is great. Weffel doesn't have a way to give this buff to herself though, which means only half of her kit is usable in solo. She's less useful for solo than Nimbus is, so early on, you should play Nimbus while you learn the game, then play Weffel when teaming with other players. I'm not saying Weffel is bad, just that there are better options for solo, and you start with one of those better options. I've already talked with devs about improving her solo ability without removing her passive. They asked people about it, and I think they did come up with a solution, but I don't know if it'll be in the game by the time it releases. If you're playing in a group, both are good, but if you prefer solo, start with Nimbus. 5. Controller works really well, and you're welcome. Originally, Toons Universe wasn't planned to launch with any controller support. If you're a Roblox dev, this is a massive mistake. You're immediately shutting out a third of your potential audience, not just by locking out console players. There are people who will play with controllers on every single platform. Yes, even tablets and phones have controller players. As an example, this is my Ioneo Pocket Air Mini. It's an Android-based gaming handheld that I use to play retro games on, but it also runs Roblox. This is one of the weaker handhelds, and it can't play everything, but there are more powerful ones out there like Ein's and Retroid's handhelds. Not to mention Steam Decks and people like me who use a controller on PC. It's actually pretty uncommon for PC games to launch in even early access without controller support, so it's a pretty bad idea to not have even bare minimum controller support. It's also a matter of accessibility. Growing up, I had friends with disabilities that would prevent them from using keyboard and mouse. One friend has cerebral palsy, which makes his hands do this. Playing on a controller is the only way that he could play games, and he loved the GameCube because the buttons were big and chunky, very easy for him to use. But this alone should be reason enough to make controllers work, just for the sake of accessibility. There's no reason why he shouldn't be able to play games just because of how he was born. Thankfully, I got into early access and set up a control scheme using a third-party program. I then gave my control scheme to the owners and a couple of devs like Imperma, who then implemented the control scheme very quickly, just a few days. It's not a perfect control scheme, as menus couldn't be used fully with the controller, but they had fixes in mind. But it works good enough and speeds up the process for the devs to work on a more universal solution while we wait. Some have said that my control scheme is weird, especially that I have L2 as sprint rather than stick click, but that's for accessibility reasons. Roblox is also weird about sprint locking. It doesn't work the way it does in non-Roblox games, so L2 is a way to get around that. Like run isn't auto-cancelled when you stop moving like in Call of Duty, but L2, as sprint, makes it easier for people with some disabilities to sprint. 6. There are no research capsules. Like other games in the genre, there is lore to unlock from the infected. Rather than getting research through chases and finding capsules or by finding fluff, you instead only need to die to the infected to get lore progress. You could go solo and die a few times to various infected and unlock the lore that way. I don't personally care for this, as I think new players might sabotage runs just for the sake of lore, but I like that we don't have to do annoying junk like finding research capsules and getting in chases like DW just to unlock characters. 7. Event floors. In Dolly's Factory we have boss floors, and in DW we have holiday floors, but Toons Universe has event floors, regardless of season. No boss floors though. As of early access there are only 3. Gas floors, blackouts, and broken elevators. Gas floors are more common on floors with infected nimbus. In theory, I don't know for sure, people have suggested this. These floors increase stamina drain over time, so finish the floor quickly. Blackouts will shut off all the lights and you need to go find the breaker and interact with it. Fun thing about the blackouts, you can find the breaker in advance, and if it has white particle effects on it, then you know that a blackout is going to happen in advance. If you don't fix a blackout though, it'll follow you to the next floor. So if you're struggling to find the fuse box, just wait patiently, and eventually it will get highlighted on your screen. Last one is elevator breakdowns, and these will usually happen right before you finish the last machine. When you do, the elevator will break, and you'll have to go looking for fuses. When you find them all, you can interact with the fuse box next to the elevator to fix it. 8. Machine types. Every floor in Toons universe is basically just finishing machines. You have 3 types. The first is hacking, which are tied to the hack stat for each agent. The second is extraction style, that are handled with each extraction stat. And the third type isn't really a separate type, it's central or tower machines. When you finish all of the machines for a floor, a tower, usually in the middle of the map, will activate and it has 1 to 4 more extra machines on it. These are either hack or extraction, or a mix of the two, and you need to complete them all to finish the floor. 9. Sharing is caring. Items are very common in TU, and you'll be encountering all sorts, but the most important ones come in short supply. Heals rarely pop up on the floor, except for the one time that a bug was making 3 medkits pop for a floor, but sometimes Chekhov will sell items to us in the elevator. When this happens, every item has limited supply, and every time, each item will have less supply than the amount of players in the lobby. Despite early access being full of YouTubers who should know better, we still had a lot of people buying up all the meds before the other people who really needed them could get them. When the game launches, please don't be greedy. Give others a chance to buy the medkits, or at the least, buy it and then give it to the injured player. This is a team game, and it gets harder the less players there are in a run. Don't be selfish. There's no reason to not share meds unless you're just trying to be a jerk. 10. Character unlocking. Unlocking agents is easy but time consuming. Like other games in the genre, you'll have to do a series of challenges or fulfill requirements. Since there isn't any research capsules or anything like that, you don't have to worry about grinding that out. Instead, the majority of challenges are things you do naturally through gameplay. Challenges I've seen include finishing hacks, finishing machines, give heals to other players, survive gas leaks, collect fuses, interact with fuse boxes, interact with breakers, and stuff like that. There are some characters who will take a long time to unlock, and it's mostly due to RNG stuff like gas floors, breakers, and elevator breakdowns. These are all random chance. It actually took me several days to unlock Tipo, the cheapest character, because of this challenge. Part of why it took so long was the RNG, but at the same time they had low rates which were later fixed, and floors were much slower which were also fixed. Now they happen almost too much. Before EA was closed down, events were happening every single floor. I've talked with devs, and they think they might have overcorrected, not accounting for the increased floor speed, so that might be changed. But anyway, that's it for this one. There isn't actually that much for me to teach you if you've already played games like Dandy's World or Dolly's Factory. There are a lot of transitive properties between all these games, so a lot of what you know from playing other games in this genre work here as well. If you liked the video, just remember to like it, comment the thing you're most excited about for Toons Universe, or just a star emoji, hype if you got any left, check out my stream on Friday, where I'll be playing Toons Universe with you all live, as long as nothing goes wrong. To get notified of when my stream starts, sub with the bell on, or join my Discord, and you'll get notified that way. What else does YouTube make me ask about now? Right, become a patron on my Patreon, or a member to get emotes in the chat, or comments, or leave a super for a one-time tip, and then, of course, YouTube's favorite thing, sacrifice a goat in my name. Thanks for watching, and thanks to the supporters like Nightmare Wuna, Freya Games, Gezro, Am, Nebazi, Aspirin Artist, Paper, Fey Penguin, Momentary Unicorn, Nat, Marius, Yini, Worm Syrup, Rask Beef, Colorado Blue, Vader Sun, Linky, Addy14, The Ace of Raccoons, Blackjack, Rask Again, Willie Pete, TG Dante, Linky Again, Astro Pixie YT, and Malding Brick. I'll see you all later. I have to go juggle chainsaws or YouTube won't let me eat this month. Bye!